discussion. Today, we have gathered esteemed experts from various fields to delve into the pressing topic at hand. Together, we'll explore different perspectives, share valuable insights, and foster a dynamic conversation that promises to be enlightening and thought provoking. So, let's dive in and enrich understanding on the current trends and career prospects in business analytics. I would now like to invite Yuganta Rathore, who is an admiringly accomplished entrepreneur, academic corporate professional who has significantly impacted the domain of education, finance, and marketing as the CEO and founder of Career Pundit EduTech Private Limited, incubated at Christ University. He is a sought after speaker and participant in prestigious events and panel discussion, including future MUNs, National Policy Summit, and the recent G20 Summit. He is also a panel moderator for today to begin with the panel discussion.
Thank you, Anika. Very good morning to all of you present here, all my dear Christites, the faculty members, the organizing team, and of course, the expert panel over here. So very good morning. Today, we're going to have a very exciting day because we're going to talk about the current trend and the career perspectives, prospects in the business analytics team dynamic. Now, I'm very honored to be your moderator, to be honest, and there's going to be a very insightful session. Now, without much further ado, I want to give an opening statement that the data is driving the whole business corridor, right? It's driving the world. If we look back a decade before, we was not able to imagine something like this today, like something like ChatGPT. Yes, it was not in our thinking process at that point of time. And each generation had something to add on the technological perspective. In 90s, we have the invention of business intelligence. In 60s, we have invention of structured data and the canned reports. In around 2010, we had an invention of data visualization tools, an expansion of data science. And today we are here when we're talking about the data analytics framework because it's going to run the future. Now, let's move ahead and let me introduce quickly to our esteemed panelist. We have Pushkar Deshpande here, and he's a senior data scientist with an AI startup known as Sowmya AI. He has a master from University of Maryland and has been working in AI for the last 5 years. He has a background in technical consulting. He helps customers implement AI solution using their software. Welcome, Pushkar, on this session today. We have another panelist, Mr. Anand Dwivedi. He's a senior data scientist working at Black Knight. He was a lead researcher for Nasdaq AI's initiatives to detect market manipulation on the US equities market. He is currently responsible for designing and deploying analytics and AI solutions on predicting the housing market. Welcome on board, Anand.
Thank you so much. Glad to be here.
Now we have Mr. Lalit Chakosa here. He's a director of Lucid Plus IT Solutions. He is a postgrad in information technology and management with 20 years hand-on and leadership experience on information systems, IT infrastructure setup, and IT service management across areas of solution designing, transition, support, security, and service delivery. I welcome you on board, Lalit as well.
Thank you. Thanks.
Last but not the least, we have our own Professor Rishikesh sir here along with us. He's an assistant professor at the Department of Commerce, Christ University Central Campus. He's also executive member of Committee of Indian Economic Association. He's a founder of Let's Chat Discussion Forum. He is also a president of Kozhikode chapter of International Goodwill Society of India. And he had a lot of publication. He's been in a lot of events altogether. It's a pleasure having you on board, Rishikesh sir.
Thank you.
Okay, so let me dive down to the panel discussion today. So I want to quote Mr. Mukesh Ambani during one of his statement given during the Gujarat Summit, Vibrant Gujarat Summit in 2019. He said that data is the new oil, data is the new wealth altogether. Anand, I want to know from you that what is your viewpoint on this statement? What are the critical transformation you are able to observe in the key industries?
So as you can imagine, because of the widely available access of internet, and smartphones, there is a lot of now transactional information available of how customers react with government services, financial services, in general shopping, grocery shopping, and also contents that they like. So there is a lot of data points that are now in crude format available with a lot of companies on how customers businesses are reacting with each other. So if you look at that in the same way as raw crude oil, you need to dig through a lot of dirt to be really able to just get the raw oil and then refine it to make it into a format that's really usable. And finally, that what really fuels a lot of industries and our individual cars. Very similarly, this raw crude data needs a lot of processing and analytics to be able to bring it into a format that is usable both for the companies and for the user or a customer or a general person like us. So customers are like companies have taken a forefront into really trying to convert this crude raw transactional information into insights that they can use to take strategic business decisions. It can be about revenue, product changes, interaction changes, and for the same way for the general user or a general customer or anyone who is now interacting on the internet, they can also leverage these tools similarly for a lot of their tasks and the opportunities. So like how we fuel our cars with an actual finished product, there's a lot of insights now available on the internet to fuel our personal growth and development and professional growth and then development using the data that is available.
That's true, Alan. So before we move further, let me take a comment from each one of you on the today's topic of discussion, that is current trends and career prospects in business analytics. So let's start with Pushkar.
Yeah. So I think this is a great exercise. I think data analytics is really, really important right now. Everything, like Anand mentioned, there is a lot of data. Initially, like when we started out a few years ago, there was no data. Everything was handwritten. So now that there is a lot of data, we need more people who can do that job. And there are going to be technologies that make it really easy for you to get on the train, like do things without having to go through rigorous technical exercise. So the point is that it's an exciting field. I think it's going to need a lot more people with a lot of expertise. So yeah, I'm hoping to see a lot of you in a few years.
So I would like to know your comment, Lalit sir, as well. Sir, you're on mute.
Yeah, sorry for that. Okay, taking on from what Pushkar said, yeah, true. Data analytics is there. It's not limited to any industry, any work stream. It's permeated every aspect of business. And getting into data analytics doesn't need any technological background, because there are people with skill set like Pushkar or Anand who are experts in that. They will give you hand over tools to you, but you need business domain experts who understand the business and how to use those tools to make business or the data analytics useful for the industry. So it's business leaders with acumen or the business domain knowledge of what they are into, plus how they can use the tools developed by experts is what is the need of the hour.
Collaborate and work, bringing different expertise together.
Yes.
Rishikesh sir, we'd like to have your comment as well.
At first, sincere apologies. There is some technical issue in me coming online because I think I need to update my browser. I'm sorry for that, but I'm hoping that I'm audible. Am I?
Yes, you're audible. You're audible.
Okay. So at first, thank you very much, Dr. Raghunandan sir and other organizers for this opportunity. Thank you, the co-panelists, for your wonderful share of thoughts, and the moderator, Mr. Mukhyukantha. One of the interesting interactions I've had recently is with an 8-year-old who said he wants to pursue a dual career. He would like to be a YouTuber critiquing food, and mind you, he's actually good at it. and also aspires to be either a game developer or an HR analyst. Now, less than probably 15 years ago, there was not even, these were not even in the list of prospective careers for us. In fact, I personally lacked clarity about choosing a career even after my graduation. So the job landscape, I believe, is unprecedented, and more importantly, the awareness of this generation is certainly something incredible and is unlike the earlier generations. The kids, of course, do have many to look up to in their space today. However, the successful YouTubers or the game developers, or today the topic is that of analysts of today, probably had to explore and teach themselves these skills, as these careers didn't exist when they were children or they were students. Even though the Harvard Business Review in the year, I believe, 2012, October edition, had mentioned that data scientist would be the sexiest job of the 21st century, I'm unsure, rather not very certain about it. And I find an observation made by Richard Riley, the former the Secretary of Education, United States, quite counterintuitive and more realistic, as it summarizes most of what I wish to speak as my opening remark. He said, "We are currently preparing students for jobs that don't yet exist, using technologies that haven't been invented in order to solve problems we don't even know are problems yet," which I believe is the reality, or is more level-headed approach in approaching to the changing job landscape. Because in a VUCA world, or the volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous world, we never know what is awaiting us. Today it is one, today probably it is analytics, tomorrow it could be something else. So even while acknowledging the surge in the business analytic jobs and its current prospects, the adaptability and the learnability holds the key to the sea change, to stay relevant in the job space, and not a certitude, is what my initial take on the trends and the career prospects in business analytics is.
Yes, sir. Truly said. I will agree with you on that particular note. Now, as you have pointed out, the job dynamics and the job landscape is changing, and Lalit sir also pointed it out that we things like this is going to define the future, right? So, and also you need to have different set of skills so that you can combine both and work accordingly, right? Puskar, I want to know from you on this same context is how does domain skills ramify the decision-making process in data analytics, especially in the finance domain? So how important it is, like our kids, they are from finance domain, they will be pursuing something along with it, right? Or getting a specialization in one particular domain. So what is the ramification on the domain-specific skill set or knowledge?
Yeah, I think Yugandhar, thanks for the question. I think we have been talking about it since the beginning of the call. So there are a lot of decisions that are taken by looking at the data. So uh, but when it's information, right? It just like anything else, it's information. You need to know what you're looking for. If a random person sits and looks at finance data, they won't have the right skill set to ask the right questions and find, like, they won't even know how the answers look like. So that's a challenge. So it is a tool. Any data analytics, any technology, you can call it AI, you can call it LLM, whatever you want to call it, but it is still a tool for you to answer some questions. And that's where domain expertise is priceless. You need to be a banking expert if you're working for a bank, in whatever capacity. You need to know how investments work if you want to work for Morgan Stanley. So it's as simple as that. So domain expertise is irreplaceable in a lot of sense.
And
Very
to
well
just add to Pushkar's point, it's like domain expertise helps us figure out what is the right question, because data is the evidence, or insights are the evidence as the answers for the questions. But being able to frame the right question, scope it the right way, look in the right areas, all of those trends are like really determined by how well you understand the problem. And all of those skills are much more contextual about really working thoroughly about using the concepts that you are learning from your undergrad degrees, graduate degrees, or from the internet or different places around a certain topic, and then utilizing the analytic skills to be able to find the evidence that support that hypothesis. It's a very experiment driven process where the domain expertise drives the hypotheses and the experimentations, and the data just provides evidence whether your hypotheses about a certain decisions were correct or not.
So domain skill help us to you to understand the right set of problems so that the system can give you the exact right answer altogether, right?
Yep.
That's quite right. Now, Anand, I want to know that what are the current trends in the field of data analytics for business optimization? What exactly corporations are investing right now?
So there is a lot of focus spent around understanding first, trying to optimize your own company, right? Like, where are the areas where we have extra operation costs, extra turnaround time, areas where we are really not optimized in doing our businesses. A lot of executives spend part of their time understanding which parts of our areas are not doing well, which parts of our areas are doing well. And the way we realize this is by assigning metrics to the quote unquote doing well and not doing well. In terms of the finance domain, people define them by earnings calls, like revenue ratios, PE ratios, like PPEs. There are different metrics. Like, in terms of, if you look at social media companies, they would determine by number of user signups, number of active users, number of app downloads, depending on what the company is. Having the right metric associated with them is the data analytics contribution to the functioning of a company right now, where previously it was still metric driven, but those metrics were not updated at a frequency fast enough to be taken decisions, because data was so decentralized. You would never know how a branch of a college in another country is working, because the data would never reach out to you for you to be able to run those exact numbers. Now, finally, we have caught up our technology to the point where data is now available centrally across all the different parts of the companies, parts of the branches, so that people thoroughly understand what works and what doesn't work, and use that as means to be able to take business decisions. So data and analytics really helps in defining the right metrics associated with each of the business processes, and then help optimize those business processes by running experiments and changing workflows that really will help a business use case or workflow.
Yeah, an example of that would be how fast we get the loans and how fast we get the credit cards. So companies identified where they need to improve so people spend more money. So that is as easy as that is. So these companies are really stepping up in understanding what can they do so that their business will grow. It is as simple as that. And they measure that using numbers, so they can quickly understand what is not working well and we need to repair that. And that's how agile these organizations are.
Lalisa, carrying the same question, I want to know from you, what are the things you're able to observe, in, especially in the term of trends in the Indian subcontinent subject matter?
So in our parlance, I'll take example from the customers that we work with or our own businesses. We are using data analytics to an extent in all aspects of our functioning, be it the finance function, be it sales and marketing. That's where we are targeting more. Segmenting the customer, understanding the customer, rather than broadcasting and reaching out to everyone and hoping that somebody will hear and call back. Targeting the approach towards the customer. So to get there, you need to have analytics tools and people with the right knowledge, domain knowledge, who can help us reach out to that target segment of customers, and then the sales process becomes easier, the marketing becomes very cost effective, and delivery becomes faster, because you're not trying to look at the outliers, people who might be interested or might be the window shoppers, but you have a target audience and where the percentage penetration of your sales, your marketing efforts becomes much more higher. So that's where the data analytics comes into picture. Going back to what Anand and Pushkar said earlier, domains, people with the right domain skills, be it in the marketing field, somebody who understands digital marketing. Now you would find people with digital marketing skills coming into the job market, but do they have the domain skills in terms of whom to approach, where to approach, how to get the data, right? So that domain knowledge plus the tools and the intent, understanding the intent of each function within the organization, that's what is going to be that's what is the trend right now.
That's
We're getting customers who wants us to target any, for instance, there's a manufacturer of security installations in oil rigs. They want to target a specific market in a specific location, and they don't want this advertisements or the target sales to go beyond that market. So getting that kind of a drill down data is what is driving the
industry. Very well said, sir. So, Rishikesh, sir, I want to know from your understanding that right now we're talking about the domain skill, right? How important, critical they are for our career growth, and also we had a discussion about the dual job opportunity, like the dual career altogether. I want to know from your perspective as an academician how ready we are, especially when we talk about the new education policy of 2020, I guess. So how prepared, whether we are in the right set, right direction towards the corporate need, whether we have that particular leverage as an academic to cater to the needs of the corporate to leverage that particular point. Where we stand right now in terms of the academia is concerned.
Okay. Thank you for raising that question, because this is something which is happening right now. And we need to have a thorough understanding of how things are transitioning. Now, if one agrees with it or not, the new education policy was introduced after being approved by the cabinet on 29th of July, if I'm not wrong, 2020. But then it was transforming the country's education comprehensively. And I believe it's a landmark, primarily because it comes after 34 years and is open to embrace several of the changes that we are discussing, not just in education, but also life in general, is also what's happening in the corporate and the rest. Now, some of the key elements of the NEP that are expected to help make the education system more industry ready, which I believe, if I can list, number one would be the emphasis on skill development. There's a lot of emphasis for developing the essential skills such as critical thinking, problem solving, creativity, communication, collaboration. And these, I believe, probably the rest of the speakers could correct me if I'm wrong, are the skills nurturing, which are crucial, which would make students well prepared for the demands of the job market. So number one is skill development. Number two is vocational education and training, which is integrating vocational education and training into the mainstream education system. So by providing some sort of hands-on experience, hands-on training, and practical knowledge, you are in charge of Uganda is in charge of the Bloomberg lab. So experiential learning from data collection and comprehension of it is something which institutions have slowly, kind of navigated through. So that's another emphasis in the new education policy, which is the vocational education and training. Now, third aspect which is highlighted and which is important is the internship and experiential learning. So the policy encourages incorporation of apprenticeships, internships, and other forms of experiential learning into the curriculum. And this approach allows the students to gain the real-world experience and exposure to the industry while they are still in campus, while they are still within the four walls of a classroom. Now, the fourth one is the focus on research and innovation. By encouraging a lot of research projects and also fostering a culture of innovation and entrepreneurship, aligning it with the industry demands and the societal demands through their cutting edge technology. I mean, that's another emphasis, the fourth emphasis, which is the research and innovation. Now, when it comes to the industry academia collaboration, that there has also been a lot of emphasis given. Now, at Christ, we do something called the corporate conclave. The Department of Commerce does that. So we bring in corporates, and then in the syllabus revision process, we send it to the corporates, not just to the academicians, to get their feedback. Right? These are all some of the practices which we are already doing, but there is a lot of emphasis given in the new education policy to take it to the next level, which is the industry academia collaboration, not just through in the syllabus formation, but also frequent discussions like this. I mean, this is an industry academia collaboration, right? So we have experts from in the field, and not just someone like me who would reproduce the content from a textbook or or an article that I read. So that's another. Now, in the sixth one, if I think if I numbered it correctly, is the flexible curricular choices. Now, the policy proposes a more flexible, more multidisciplinary approach to education, allowing the students to choose the subjects and courses according to what interests them, but and not according to what is mandated as per the course. So there is an interdisciplinary learning. There is an option for, if you're aware, the multiple entry and exit, and those are some of the other flashpoints of the new education policy. I just have two more. Another is the digital literacy and technology integration. If you've seen the kind of promotions and the funding that the central government is doing, it's mostly towards creation of MOOC or Swayam, integration of Swayam into the curriculum. So digital literacy to be embedded in the curriculum and promoting it is another emphasis in the new education policy. And one last point, if I could remember correctly, is the National Research Foundation. So the NEP proposed the establishment of NRF to nurture and create a conducive research ecosystem, especially to understand and learn, or probably co-create value along with the corporates and the society. So, if in nutshell, emphasis on skill development, vocational education and training, internships and experiential learning, focus on research and innovation, industry academia collaboration, flexible curricular choices for the students, digital literacy and technology integration, and the new the National Research Foundation funding, to promote are some of the highlights which I think takes a leap in navigating through the changes that we discussed so far.
So we can proudly say we are on the right track out there, right? Because the policy is just being implemented, so it's gonna take some time for us to see the result side of it. I have a very technical question, Pushkar and Anand. When we talk about the data analytics field, right, there are a lot of sub variables to it, right? We are talking about, let's say, AI, we're talking about ML, and there are also subcategories existing. From a student's perspective, right, if someone want to switch and build their career with data analytics, being from the finance field, what are the different subsets of the umbrella of data analytics, what these students can target or look into, which will have a good future, I will say, in times to come. So this question is to both of you. What, as per your observation, under the umbrella of data analytics, what are those sub variables or soft variables which can be looked upon?
Yeah, I can start with the answer, and Anand can probably join in. So I think data analytics is a core part of a lot of jobs right now. So the sheer number of jobs that require you to data analytics is a lot. Data analytics doesn't always have to start fancy with all these sophisticated software. It starts with Excel and PowerPoint, where you're telling a story through data. You're just building simple charts and graphs that can paint a picture about financial scenario or budget or something. The more sophisticated you get, you can start using tools like Power BI, which build charts, and Tableau, which builds charts. A lot of things. And then if you have more appetite towards tech, you can go towards tech. But as a new beginner in the field, I think there is a lot of support. there is a lot of education available on that, and yeah, you can get started. You can I think someone mentioned the MOOCs and like learning by yourself. There are a lot of resources available, a lot of websites, including YouTube, many classes and tutorials. So you have a lot of resources to learn. There is a easier barrier to entry, so you can pretty much get started. And something that's in the financial domain that does data analytics is always good to get started with.
So we divided slightly into like three domains, right? Like one is data visualization. The job there, it becomes you have data in a certain format and you visualize it for stakeholders to just absorb the data and take insights from it. So that requires, as Pushkar mentioned, utilizing the visualization tools. There are a lot of SaaS offerings that provide that. If we go slightly deeper into the layer where you're like, okay, now I'm given a slightly more custom report making, which which the example was mentioned about, there is this manufacturing analysis to be done that requires a slightly more deeper data to be required. There you then need to really explore query languages like SQL and Python, which will be getting slightly deeper into the technical aspect. Like now we're slowly flooding into the technical terminologies and skills required to combine with your financial domain. A very good website to experiment with both of these shifts would be, there is a website called Kaggle that has questions from a lot of different domains, from marketing, from finance, from healthcare, from spam. There are a lot of questions for which there are a lot of experts who have already written answers to those questions. So just mimicking what an expert did to solve a problem would be a very quick step for everyone to sort of, like, there is for a specific finance example, there is a predict Boston housing price challenge that is available there, where the job is to predict house prices in Boston. If someone is trying to get into the housing market domain for banks, they can follow the best working example there. Just look at all of the steps that the example did and understand why did they do these steps, what are the features that they're trying to understand, and mimicking those steps would really help them gain the required technical skills to solve the problem in the most common format. So we would like to add to Pushkar's point, starting slowly with your known formats and slowly expanding the complexity of the problem would be the best way for everyone. Like even us, we didn't really know the deep ends of all of the technical skills from before. We just knew a very small part, but we slowly grew the complexity of the problem to be able to answer the question that was required.
Yeah, and the prospects are endless. Like insurance companies need finance experts who can do analytics. Companies like Morgan Stanley and JP Morgan, they are just like humongous beasts with thousands of analysts working for them. So there are endless number of opportunities. You can choose what you like and you can do data analytics within it. So you choose the field that you want. If you want to insurance, you can go in insurance, and then you can be data analyst or finance analyst in that domain. So you pick what you want and you'll be able to learn. There is enough material out there.
Rightly said. So there is a demand for data analytics in diversified fields, especially in finance, because that constitute a majority of the portion of a GDP. I want to know from Lalit, as an capitalist, about what are those key set when you look at a person or a candidate who apply for a job profile, especially in the fields like this. So what exactly are you looking at in their resume, which make you believe that what makes them stand out of the crowd?
So one practice that we do is that how much practical knowledge do they carry? The books or the curriculum would give them the starting point to expand their knowledge. Right? Many students come with detailed explanation of the projects that they did as part of their graduation or PG. But when they come to the job market, they are not able to share that. 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 So one practice that we do is that how much practical knowledge do they carry? The books or the curriculum would give them the starting point to expand their knowledge. Many students come with detailed explanation of the projects that they did as part of their But we look for people who have done beyond that. They have learned new technology. They have learned. They have the infrastructure to explore. They have the right guidance with brilliant academicians who can help them clear their doubts. What have they done beyond their curriculum? Have they explored different tools like Excel? As Pushka mentioned, Excel is there, Power BI is there. Have they gone ahead and tried some visualization? Have they done some data analysis? Can they give us a domain where they were was of interest to them and they had done some research or some work or some expanded their knowledge there? So that shows that the person is really interested in the domain and interested in the work, and will be a good fit, because the once you know that person knows how to run a 100-meter race, you can always give the baton to him, so you know that he will pass it on and he will take it to the finish. So we look for people who have the domain knowledge, but more than the domain knowledge, who have practically implemented what they learned and try to expand their knowledge base and horizon.
Practicality plays a major role. Okay. So, keeping that context in mind, let me ask one of my favorite questions I normally love to ask is imagine that you are Pushkar Anandan, that you are a student of BCom honors for a moment. Let's imagine that back to your college uni days, and you have to restart your career right now, right? So you are getting a specialization here. How you gonna prepare yourself is my first question, or you gonna do some changes, or this is what you're not going to follow. So in being an become H student, become honest student, right? How you gonna design your career in this field? What are the steps you want to look into?
So I can go forward with it, which is like the first thing that I will essentially do is go on LinkedIn and find out alumni who are working already with companies.
Mhm.
Those alumni are doing real jobs in real companies
Mhm.
and are performing job functions. I will add 100 of them, send messages to 500 of them,
Mhm.
and then 5 will return to ask them for mentorship. What do
Mhm.
you do? Ask them questions. How
Mhm.
did you get there? What are the skills that you're working at a job? What
Mhm.
is your day-to-day job looks like?
Mhm.
Getting that understanding from them will be my blueprint to be like, okay, my senior who was in the same college as me, spent the same 4 years as me,
Mhm.
currently spends 6 hours of his time
Mhm.
doing these 5 tasks.
Mhm.
These 5 tasks require, like for my case, I have a very opposite path where I have a very engineering background and I had to learn all finance to work for NASDAQ.
Mhm.
So I had a mentor on the finance side to tell me, okay, what are the core financial concepts that I need to learn to be able to solve my problem? Can you help me break down my problem to understand these are the high level complex
Mhm.
financial concepts that I need to understand, and
Mhm.
use the internet to really learn those. So for someone who has a BCom background, and if he's looking for, and some all jobs are currently interdisciplinary, figure out which are your weak points that if someone gave you a task you won't be able to do.
Mhm.
Your mentors, and not even mentors who are like academics or professors, but actually reach out to your seniors who are in the industry currently working to understand what are the skills that they're applying, which courses and concept mattered the most,
Mhm.
and really work on those courses very, very well.
Mhm.
Because in 3 years, you will be at the same place that they were, but now you are much more equipped because you were able to learn from their mistakes, pick
Mhm.
up the skills that are very, very important from them that got them their jobs, and
Mhm.
really reskill yourself using the most, like, there's always research, and the most cutting edge always moves ahead. All of
Mhm.
us in the industry, like me and Pushkar, are currently 98% sharp, like, because the 2% sharp are the ones who are really pushing the research and doing it on an everyday basis. We are working in the industry, so we are 2% behind.
Mhm.
So trying as a student, trying to be on the cutting edge of research, you have a chance to really learn the state of the art to help solve that problem. And
Mhm.
as Lalit sir mentioned, show it somehow. like work with your like project, we had courses that had small mini projects, right? Like work with your professors to understand how can I incorporate this technology, this software within this project. I found this data source online. Can I use it to create this project to my interest? There will be a negotiation that has to take place, but there will be a sweet spot where, like, um, there was a mention of learning real life skills of collaboration, negotiation, team building. This is how, like, yes, the education policy will take a step, but the career is always in the hands of the student. Like one of my mentors told me, it's like it's your job to personalize your career and take it. So these are real effective tools with which you can take that baton and be like, okay, this is the project that I am interested in. I will negotiate with my professor to get this project approved. And my mentor on the industry who is currently working has told me that these skills are very important for me to get a job. So all of those align and you become a very, very good professional very, very quickly.
Yeah, and there is nothing like speaking with the people who are actually doing the job, right? And we are not scary. You can reach out to us on LinkedIn. We are just like one connection request away. So are you bold enough to send someone a request? Are you bold enough to understand, like ask them a question? Okay, I want to really understand this. I don't know anything in this field. Can you help me? And most of the times people are good on LinkedIn. It's a really nice community. So you can reach out, you can ask, and you can really work on those skills. There are a lot of places in which you can get it. If you are everyone, like even when you get the job, you are going to be able to whine about your work. Oh, my job doesn't let me do this and that. All of us have done that. None of our jobs are perfect. They are boring in a lot of cases. When you're especially new, you're not getting to do a lot of things. That's always a part. You have to learn and get the job that you want. Like you can spend your entire life in one job whining about it all the time, but there is a way to move forward. You just have to be bold enough to go there and get it done.
I think a step
Yeah.
prior to this, what I would want to add is that now that you're the students and you're going through the learning phase, the first thing that you need to identify is where does your passion lie? There are multiple facets within the organization where you can practice digital data analytics or AI, machine learning, and all. Each function has it. So identify your passion, connect with experts, as Anand and Pushkar mentioned, in that particular domain, and then try to build up your career. Maybe down the line you will feel that, oh, this is not something that I thought this line would be. But to first identify your passion, where does what interests you, where would you spend 3 hours without eating lunch, or maybe skipping a breakfast, something that interests you to do some analytics or some data inference. So spend that time, identify the passion, for reach out to experts, understand which is the best option, then become an expert on that, and that will give you a at least 100 feet advantage when you are in the job, when you go for an interview or for when you kickstart your first career, right? If you know that what you've done, what you learned, and your passion lies there, you will be much ahead of your companions. It's like this data, the learning is available for everyone. Data is there for everyone. How would you think out of the box, and how much effort would you put in to understand and become an expert on it? That will determine your actual career as a data analyst.
That's
You
very
want the one secret, like where most of the workings of jobs are written in job descriptions. So go ahead on LinkedIn and read a lot of job descriptions that you want. That will tell you exactly what you need. They're not kidding around. We really take job descriptions seriously. We really spend a lot of time writing those descriptions. Some of the job descriptions might be funny and like irrelevant, but most of them contain a lot of information. So I and Anand work. We have a forum called Career Studio, and we help young professionals. And that is the first thing we tell them. Like, if you want to build a resume, build it for a job description. So you have to read job descriptions. Try to do that, and you learn better than any uncle giving you advice who has never worked in that field. Don't take advice from them. Read on LinkedIn. It's a really supportive platform.
No, that's true. I guess in the word, what we have the maxim is called per capita opinion. Everyone have it. And we understand that because my company is in edtech. So based on job description, your resume is being, your CV is being prepared, your statement of purpose being prepared, and when your interview is being prepared based on the job description. So that is very, I guess it's a very practical advice. We are also doing it, and I can personally urge the student also to look into it. Pushkar, I want to know that you have worked with Morgan Stanley as well, right?
Yeah,
And now you're working in a startup as well.
yeah.
Now, I want you to make me understand that what is the process of Morgan Stanley, especially in terms of when you apply. And
Yeah.
if you have to choose between an existing corporation like Morgan Stanley or the Rock altogether, right, or the Bloomberg, for an example, to work with. So, which is better to start your career, an existing corporation or a startup?
Okay, a lot of people will say there are pros and cons and it's all equal. I'm not gonna say that.
Okay.
There are different types of people. Okay, some people learn better when things are streamlined and they have some guidance.
Mhm,
That is something you will get. So identify who you are. Or do you
mhm,
like unstructured things and you just like to find your way? Which
mhm,
kind of a person are you? So startups are more unstructured. There no one has any time to teach you anything. So you have to figure out your own way. So if
mhm,
you learn better by just doing things and you're fearless about things and you're curious and you can use internet to learn, go
mhm.
for a smaller company.
Okay.
But most of us like to learn it from someone with
Mhm,
some well written document and well written process. For
mhm,
those people, big organizations are always demonized in posts and all that, but I think they also have their advantages. They can teach you a lot. There is a structure, there is set of steps, there is a lot of material available for you to learn from, a lot of people who have time to teach you. So those are the
mhm,
things that you can learn from a big organization. There are advantages and disadvantages, but it depends on what kind of a person you are. So I like just ask that question: would I rather figure it out myself, or do I need someone to teach me? And you have to be honest. Then there is no right or wrong. You can learn better from a process or by doing it yourself. So it's about who you are.
mhm. About the experience with Morgan Stanley, what does the process looks like over there?
Yeah. So in case of Morgan Stanley, that it's a big organization and you get to work with a lot of people. So there are 4 to 5 rounds of interviews at least. Yeah. So the first round is always going to be with a recruiter. So if they
Mhm,
reach out to you, let's say it's not a campus placement, it's a external job application or something.
mhm,
So a recruiter would reach out to you. They would explain you what the job is. They will do some valid question checking.
mhm,
Okay, do you have a degree? Do you have any experience here? They're just brief information.
mhm,
Then comes the hiring manager round. So that's where you're going to speak with the person who leads the team. So if
mhm,
I'm leading the team of few people and I'm hiring a new person, I can give them the information. I'm not testing them thoroughly, but
mhm,
I'm just giving them brief information about what the job is and checking a few things so that someone who has just written their resume on chat gpt doesn't show up. Like we can tell that in 1.5 hour call. If
mhm,
they absolutely know nothing, they go away. But if they're a suitable candidate, then the detailed rounds with the teammates happen, and that's where they check your knowledge from your domain or your technical skills if you're applying for a tech job. So they check the skills in that interview.
mhm,
And usually it's a good culture in all these big organizations that they will have uh, a executive level round. So someone who is at a director position would be, or executive position,
mhm.
they would be speaking with you to make sure that you're a workable person who their team can work with, and you're not a disruptor. So be a decent person, be a talkative person, and you'll be fine in those rounds. So there are multiple rounds, but yeah, they all have their purposes.
Okay.
And one big advice here is to think of an interview process always as a two-way street. So a company is interviewing you, you are also interviewing the company. So do ask your questions about their work culture, with your manager about his working style, cultural fit. Does he like emails? Does he respond better with presentations? Does he work on notes? What are your questions about your job? How do you envision your future? Having an answer about the current position or opportunity matching your slightly longer term future would be very, very helpful in you choosing your job. And it will also save both the company and you a lot of time, in even in the case if there is an alignment, and also the case where there is not an alignment, because it is a partnership that is critical for both the sides to be very happy. So always go into these processes with a slight confidence of having a set of questions that you want, having a slight vision of what you want from your workplace, as Pushkar mentioned, to really be like a successful venture and get the most out of that time.
Yeah, so if you're putting in efforts and if you're preparing yourself and putting in all that work and effort and sweat in it, you deserve the right to ask what the job has to offer you. It doesn't have to be in a condescending way, but there can be genuine questions that you can ask.
Rightly said. So before I open the floor for the questions, there are last few two sets of questions I really want to know about. First is to all three of you, that what are those interesting questions you normally ask if you're hiring someone, or you was asked when you applied for? So can you give me an example of one or two interesting questions and how you panned it out, and especially the question you asked to the organization before you joined them? Example is for the same.
Yugandhar, I hope I don't have to answer that.
No, definitely. So, I have another set of questions for you. This question was for Pushkar, Anand, and Lalitha.
See, one of the questions that I would definitely, or my team would ask is, what is your understanding of the job role? Right. That shows that whether the person has really read through the JD, which is very critical, as Pushkar and Anand mentioned. So we get to see when you put up an ad on LinkedIn, there are people who apply without even saying, if it says that 10 years of experience in this, say, .NET development or XYZ. There are people with zero or no experience also applying. That shows that they might not have read through the JD. So one question is that, what is their understanding of the job? What do they think that they are expected to deliver? They have a fair understanding of that?
Clarity. Okay. Anand, you can share.
So one question that I always ask for my any of my prospective employers is, at least to my manager, I ask him, one, what is his working style? Second, what are the, like, how does he handle mistakes? And what are the execution and research time, right? Like every role has an allocated time where you have to execute on jobs that are required to fulfill either a fulfillment, development, code, insight, etc. Versus there is some exploration time, which ideally you could use to, research within a certain framework around your job description. It's called structured research around your application. So I always like a healthy balance. So, but that is not necessary for all job descriptions to have a research time allocated with it. So I always prefront ask the question around, one, if there is, and if there is not, what would be his way to work towards such a split? So that, like, what that shows me is my manager's ability to sort of take in my request and consider it and build towards it. I'm not expecting a firm yes, no, 60-30 answer. I'm more trying to really see how does he handle such a request, and does he have a process to work with me to get my sort of work style combined with his work style.
Got it.
Yeah. I can go next. So when I'm interviewing someone, I think one of the things that I need to know about someone is, how do they work? Like, tell me, what do you do for work? Or this is the problem. Let's start discussing as if we are working right now. Okay. That really is like, okay, you have the information that you have. a year into the job, you're not going to know anything. So not going to know everything. So there are going to be things that you don't know. So let's start with that. How do we work this problem? So giving a real life scenario, discussing it with them will give you not just what they've written on the resume, but also how do they think. Like, it's a problem. We all, like, none of us do it in a second. We all take time, like Anand mentioned. We all have the process. What is your process of working towards a problem? That is really important for me to know, because if they enjoy it for the end result, or if they are enjoying it for specific things and not enjoying the process, then that can be a problem, right? Because most of the times things are not going to work. In all of our jobs, things don't work most of the times. So how do you move forward from that part? So that is something that I would like to know about anyone that I'm interviewing, and that's something that I want to ask when I'm also taking the interview, because what kind of problems do you have? That So let's discuss those problems. So if they like my style, we are going to be a good fit. If they don't like my style, it's not going to work out. It doesn't work out if it is not very well aligned. I cannot stress enough on that.
That's quite true. That's quite true. So before I ask for the closing statements, this is an open question for four of you. That right now we are not only competing with the humans out there, we're also competing with the systems, right? ChatGPT is able to write a code as good as someone from the industry altogether, right? So the competition is not within ourselves also, but the competition is with the technology itself, right? So we are standing at the brink of the AI automation right now, right? So what are the unique qualities and skill set you believe that what makes us stand out in the realm of business analytics? So how human touch can compete with the precision of algo? This is the question everyone is discussing on in the world, that it's a threat to the job, it's threat to the human expertise. So how you pursue it, how you see to it?
Yeah.
Rishi, so yeah, we can start with you.
Okay. So, while the technology and artificial intelligence have advanced in the realm of business analytics, there are certain skill sets which I believe makes humans indispensable in this field. Right? The qualities rather complement the capabilities of machines and add value to the entire analytics process. Because a lot of ways we still have the edge. When I say we, human beings still do have the edge. One, probably in terms of creative and critical thinking, right? The human possess the creative and critical abilities that allows them to approach problems from different perspectives and not just based on the narratives which are preset, right? So looking at problems from different perspectives and addressing it in a creative and constructive manner, and it comes out of the critical thinking, which I think is still an advantage point. Second, probably there are context in which you need to make decisions which also involves emotions, right? So emotional intelligence is, I believe, is crucial in understanding the human behavior. Sometimes in a marketing context, the customer preferences, market trends, and it's not just the numerics. So the empathy, emotional intelligence, etc., I believe, helps the analyst to interpret data with a human touch. So that probably is another advantage point. And see, of course, you can make inferences, you could do predictive analysis or descriptive analysis, but there is also something called an ethical decision, right? Which I believe is also paramount in business analytics, especially when you have plans of a sustainable business model. You need to have ethical business practices, especially when you're dealing with sensitive customer data or making high stake decisions. So probably that's another area where humans can navigate ethical dilemmas and make responsible choices based on the moral values, based on the social awareness, which again I believe the machine may not be able to. There is also something called a contextual intelligence, which is a fair amount of literature has come out of it on that topic. See, if you remember a couple of years back, if I'm not wrong, it was in 2013 or 2012, almost 10,000 novels was fed or was into the Google mechanism because the same word could have different connotations. For example, if I may use the word play, play has different contextual relevance, right? Like playing with one's emotions is one way in which you go out and play is another way of looking. So same words having different connotation, contextual understanding, and the historical perspectives, all of which probably humans still have an edge, which I believe is also crucial while you interpret data and the patterns in the data. Judgment, intuition, which I believe is an extension of the contextual understanding. And also, if I may conclude, the big picture perspective. Machines are excellent. They are excellent in analyzing, not machines, I would say the people who use those softwares are excellent at analyzing granular data. But humans are better equipped to see the bigger picture, right? They can connect, cross-connect, disparate pieces of information, consider the long-term implications of any decision that you make, and identify strategic opportunities. So, in a lot of ways, I believe humans still do have a lot of edge over the technology or whatever AI or the analytics that we're talking about, right?
Sure, sir. Let's start with Lal sir.
So I would say that the human touch would be there. There's a paradigm shift definitely from when the computers came. People thought the jobs will be lost. Now I think it's added more jobs. Similarly, ChatGPT and AI are the next paradigm shift wherein it's going to give more opportunities, more options, right? And the human intervention will definitely be there. It's like when you feed a question or a problem state and you get n number of answers. It's like I can write a prescription on some ailment by feeding in the symptoms into Google, right? It will give me treatments for that symptom, not for the disease, right? I can, so similarly, ChatGPT and AI would be providing us with insights into what we are looking for, or maybe coding and all, but the same ChatGPT would be available for a hacker also. So human intervention would come in. How do you make sure that the same information available to you, me, and a third person, how do we make it more relevant, secure, and taking inference out of it, and rather than treating the symptoms, how do we treat the disease?
Very well said. Anand, can
So
share some?
I personally don't think of it as a competition because it's like everything is a tool to solve a problem. I used to use different tools before a new faster tool came in. I started using the faster tool to solve the problem. It's like I previously we had bullock carts. There is a car that has arrived. You can make an ethical case that we have saved the animal from all of the inhumane things that we were doing to make it do the things. With the car coming in, the car is faster. So if I personally look at it as all of us, even students, everyone every day is trying to solve a problem with the resources that they have in hand. We personally have been given a very democratized resource with this LLM because now a lot of places where there were language barriers and things like that to really just help convey and portray their technical skills, communication skills, interpersonal skills now have a very common ground because all of them can now be work at a very same plane level, whereas people previously who were just better at communication had an edge just because of the communication. So it is it is not really always in, it's not a competition with it, but it's just utilizing that tool to solve a problem that you have at that point in time would be the analogy that is very applicable. And for people who are working in technologies, like there is a new language that comes in every 3 years. Python came in 3 years ago. Before that, people were coding in C and C++. Before that, people were coding in mainframe. So everyone who works in technology or even without technology is always adapting to changing dynamics. So us being more favorable to adapting to a changing dynamic and being adaptable would be the narrative with this. And this tool, if utilized in the appropriate way, could really help you for your advantage, because it's level setting a playing field where previously there is a lot of bias that has been done on just the effective communication of English, which will move away now in a swipe, because now everyone is at a parallel in using the English language in terms of the textual form of communication. So it really helps set a level playing field.
Sure.
Yeah.
Pushkar, yeah.
Yeah. So AI is not here to take your jobs. AI is here to help you do your jobs in a faster way. So there is a learning period. We might think of it as a competition. We all have insecurities in our head that it's going to take away, it doesn't work that way. We are humans. We design technologies in such a way that it benefits humanity, whether you believe it or not. Now, my company, the AI startup we've been talking about, what we do is we help you build AI models without writing a single line of code. So analysts, my clients are analysts who can just go on our software, just click a few buttons, just upload their data and get the AI model, which they would not have done before. So this AI, this LLM, this chat GPT is here to do something for you. Think of those things as resources. They are not people. They are resources for you. So as every AI company, we have a mission to solve different types of problems. And when we say that, we mean that one of the clients that I worked with has devices that they send through pipes and detect pipe leaks. Those are millions and billions of dollars worth of problems. They contribute to environmental health. We are doing great things with AI. Don't be afraid of it. Try to use it. It doesn't bite you. Just like social media, every parent thought that their kid was going to get kidnapped on social media. Have they not? And here we are, a few generations of social media later. Let's stop panicking for once. This is a great technology. This can teach you a lot. This can save a lot of time for you. So let's use it like a resource, and instead of being afraid of it and being the late adopters. There is nothing worse than late adopters, because you lose the advantage. You let someone else go ahead of you, and you don't end up using something that you should have used before. So I would say don't be afraid of it. It's not scary. If anyone has any questions, reach out to us. We can help you with understanding what this whole thing is. We've been talking about AI. AI. No one talked about what it is. That's what happens most of the time. So let's not be scared of it. We can make it work.
You very well said that we need to leverage the tech rather than giving up to it. So I guess the students can look into it to use these tools not only just for their CIAs but also to learning something more than that. Now, let me since we are running short on time, let me take your closing statement. And along with that, I want you to recommend two skill set in terms of the technical thing the student should look into. Each one of your favorite two skill set in terms of technical or personal as well, but you would want the student to actually do and gain knowledge in that domain. So I want you to have a very quick closing comment on this and also the your favorite two skill sets. We'll start with Pushkar. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Excel is the king. Excel is still very relevant. So learn Excel, and then learn some sort of graph tools like Power BI. It can be Tableau. It can be some simple graphs that you can build in Excel and PowerPoint. Start with that. That is a great place to start. Once you're in the flow, you'll be able to catch on to whatever you want.
Thank you, Pushkar. Anand?
Uh, I would personally recommend that there is a lot of free masters and bachelor's specialization available on YouTube from the top universities in the world. Pick any topic, just type MIT, that topic, and you will have their whole course available to learn from scratch. For specific two things that I would like people to do, one would be to just go on kaggle.com and look at the questions and answers of how people answered a particular question and how analyzed a topic. It's an open source website that has the data set available, the code available, the graphs available for you to just copy and mimic what people did to build up your skill sets. They have courses, they have chapters, they have tutorials to really build up your specific skill set in this space.
Thank you, Alan. Let's.
I would recommend each one of the students to take a step back and go back to revisit the statistical basics of statistics.
Okay.
Understand what from an average, mean, median, mode, what does they stand for? What is the relevance of it from your personal experience? When you have a data set, what should be used? So once you have the basics clear, then go for Excel. Definitely, as Pushka mentioned, that's the starting point, or R, or any other tool, and start playing around with data. Play around with data and come out with inference. You will find many things that you might not have learned or read in textbooks, which would be interesting to you. So go back to basics, get your funda clear on statistics. What is a valid data set, and then go forward with Excel, R, and other tools.
Rishish sir?
I would suggest get rid of us faculties, go to the professionals, seek mentorship and guidance. I mean, what I'm saying is something pragmatic.
Yep.
Reach out to the professionals working in the business analytics and probably related fields and seek mentorship. Mentors can provide valuable advice, and choosing mentors is also another bigger challenge, but choose the right mentor and probably they can help you take a right decision.
Very true, sir. That get in touch with the experts and they will help you to figure out what's there. Okay, so let's open the floor for the questions. Anika, if we have any questions, you can just let us know or put in the comment section here, so we can direct those questions. If not, I'll make my closing statement and let's call it a day. Anika, any questions are there from the audience?
Are there any questions from the students? If so, please put it in the chat box, or you can speak out as well.
Stunned silence, it seems. We're
No,
so
I think they might be forming some questions there.
okay.
Any
No worries.
questions?
Good morning, sir. Am I audible?
Yeah, you're audible.
So, what coding languages are relevant now, and what are supposed to be relevant in the future? Like, what languages to learn now if I want to learn anything?
Python. Python would be the highly recommended language for both data analytics, data engineering. It has a wide, diverse application and would be a great skill set to invest your time in.
And as per AI, is learning skills regarding like things like ChatGPT, like, will it be good for the resume?
So I would personally recommend to do more projects with it rather than like trying out prompt injections. Like building out a proper project involving these models would be a very good place to start.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. I guess we any questions are there, Anika?
Are there any other questions? The thing is, we are all in different rooms, so I can't actually see the students.
Oh, okay. No, that's not an issue. If there is something where they can put it
Excuse
up.
me, sir.
Yes, sir.
So I would just like to ask any softwares or courses would you recommend for data analytics with respect to finance, because we are all commerce and finance students. So with respect to that, anything would you recommend to us?
Yeah, I can. We don't have the specifics. Probably we can send them over later on. But there are websites like Coursera, Udemy, and there are a lot of learning websites. So data analytics for finance. Just search those terms. You would be able to select the exact courses that are required for you. So it depends. What you want to learn could be different than what we've seen before, right? So yeah.
Okay.
So adding on to what Pushkar mentioned, Madhusudan, you need to identify which domain in finance that you want to be an expert on, right? And accordingly, there are tools. If it's fraud detection, it's different. If it's customer getting more customers, it's totally different. If it's loan processing, right? What would you look in a statement, bank statement given by a customer, right? There are we work on bank statements where we see that the customer does a transfer every alternate day. A fund gets transferred from his one account to another account. Why do they do it? Alternate days, the fund gets keep rotating between the accounts, so that at the end of the month, your average monthly balance is much higher than what the bank requires, right? So fraud detection would mean you need to understand the domain, get into that, and then use the tools. The tools would be standard, is what I would personally feel. But yeah, you should understand the scope of and the domain, then to select the tool.
Anand,
Yeah,
you
I
want
would
to add?
recommend looking at Kaggle finance projects, because Kaggle has a lot of projects ranging from investment decisions to fraud detection to alpha generations to document extractions. Using Kaggle to really figure out what problem statement will you like will really help you really drill down into the specific skill sets that you would need to become an expert in trying to solve those types of problems.
Yeah, on Kaggle, there are two things that are essential for data analytics that you get. One is data, and second is the code that you can just run to understand that. You can start from there and then you can start writing your own code. But if you want to just understand what can be done, what is data analytics, just go on Kaggle, search for analytics project, and just run it yourself. You don't have to write anything, you just have to run it and understand the report.
Linang, you have a question, I guess. You have raised your hand.
Greetings to all. As a student who is interested in communication, how can we refine our skills so that it helps us in the finance and analytical field? Because they're quite different if we really think about it.
Yes, so it really depends on what aspects of communication are you trying to improve in. So one of the best finance specific communication jobs is looking at investment relation calls that are done by all public companies every quarter. If you look at those calls, those are very financial centric call that explain the performance of a company in key financial metrics and are done by experts in the company who are really, really good in communicating technical financial information. So, in those aspects, I would highly recommend looking at investor calls, uh, earnings calls for all public companies, be it from India or the United States, and learning, looking at the report. There is a presentation deck that comes out that is available for public consumption, looking at how did they present those metrics, what did they mention, how did they mention the performance of a business sector, would be really, really helpful in gaining tips around becoming a good communicator.
Yeah, I agree. There is a situation that they're explaining in every one of these calls. Like Microsoft has their earnings call, they answer their shareholders, what's happening with my company. The way they present that, the words are not chosen by random, they're very carefully chosen. So if you learn from those, you are going to be learning from the best people who can present the situation in the best possible words. And that's a very important skill. So yeah, I encourage the same thing as Anand suggested.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any other question? It's not there. Okay. So one thing I can recommend on that particular subject matter is you can reanalyze the Hindenburg and Adani issue. So Hindenburg alleged Adani of malpractices. So there is a proper report created by Hindenburg, and there is a counter to that by Adani Group. So when you're going through the report, especially in terms of communication, you will be able to identify what they said without saying it, right? So what they was hiding between the lines is, I guess that's the best report in the recent term for you to understand that. Now, coming on my closing remark, the first thing what we need to understand in this domain is particularly that just because you're not working in a fintech company or finance domain doesn't mean you're not a finance person, right? You might be working in a hospitality sector, managing the finance of a company, right? That is, itself constitute about the finance itself altogether. So it's does not matter based upon the industry altogether that this when we say that we are from finance, we normally try to work with the finance companies as well, right? So there are opportunities everywhere right now. The data is driving every major sector. For example, if we talk about healthcare sector, we have clinical decision support based on the data, right? We have drug discovery and development based on data. We have genomic data analysis altogether. When we talk about the finance, we have fraud detection, we have credit scoring models, we have the same in the supply chain as well. We have real-time tracking system, demand forecasting, route optimization. So in all these sectors, data is being used, right? So it's not like that you are in certain course, so you need to follow that particular. You need to have diversified experience. As Laliji mentioned, that it's not about what your curriculum suffices you. It's all about what more you have to offer to the organization, and that what exactly gives us leverage when we are trying to build our career. Because anyone wants a person who have knowledge and skill set in multiple disciplines out together. So that's the first cue from where you can start with. Just because you're in finance, it doesn't make sense that I don't want to learn about what's happening in hospitality, right? I don't want to learn about communication. It is very mandatory. It is very critical for us to learn different diversified skill set. And what Pushkar and Anand have mentioned in the throughout our discussion, that it's more about the real-time experience. Even LG have mentioned about the same, that the more projects you do, and not the one which are mandatory for the qualification of your academia, but also in terms of what extra you are trying to do. To give a context about this, I was having this discussion with the admission team of National University of Singapore, and I had discussion with people from Harvard and Stanford. What makes them different is they never look at your GPAs. GPA is a exclusion criteria for them. If you do not have more than that, they're not gonna. You cannot apply for that particular role altogether, right? For that particular admission, and this is common with all the big corporation we're talking about today. The only thing they are bothered about is what you have and what you have to bring it on the table, which suffice their need. And one thing they look into is your impact on Asia matrix, which means that work you are doing, what impact it have on Asia Pacific. So you have to do research to try to make your research in a way that it stands out of the crowd. As they have suggested that you can start working with a professor, you can reach out to them on LinkedIn, you can build a connection, because along with the data, your network is your net worth right now. The better people you have in your network, the better they're going to provide you guidance with. But the only thing which is stopping you from here to there is, I guess, you. So you need to work on yourself, find which avenue you want to work on, and do not worry, as we have discussed, that the AI is gonna take your job. There's nothing like that, because still it's in a developing phase. I guess it's gonna take some time for to do a proper SWOT for it, that what stands out there. But one thing is that before it use you, you can learn how to use it to deliver better and to deliver results. In any of the industry, what one thing is common is, if you are the person who can deliver the result, that's all we all are looking forward for. So you can proudly say that I'm the person who gets the job done. And that statement, make you stand out of the crowd. So learn how to deliver, learn how to handle pressure, and learn how to learn new things. So you have to have a tendency of growth mindset. That exactly when I asked Anand about this question, that how you perceive AI, and he said, I'm not bothered about it because I know how to use it. I'm learning new skills on a day-to-day basis. I'm learning new tools to build on new to day-to-day basis. So this is the mindset what we need to follow. So at the last, I want to thank all of you for giving your precious time and sharing your insights with our students here. I want to congratulate the Department of Commerce for organizing an event like this. So which helps our students to understand in which way they should function and which way they should direct their career towards. I want to thank Anika for inviting us, and everyone who is involved, all the professors, Rishikesh for his time and insight, I guess. And lastly, I want to thank students as well for asking question and was being attentive throughout this particular session. So it was a great session. If any one of you have any further question to ask, you can reach out to Pushkar, Anand sir, Lalit sir, Rishikesh or me on our LinkedIn. We'll be more than happy to connect with you and assist you in any way of the possible. So with this, I want to call it a day. And thanks again for your valuable time and insight. Let's uh, work things out, and let's see where we can help the institution, and we'll be more than happy to suffice that particular need. Thanks again, and I wish all of you a very great day ahead. So thank
Thank
you.
you for the
Thank
opportunity.
you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good day. Good day, everyone. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Anika, over to you.
Okay, so there's a vote of thanks from our side also. So it gives me immense pleasure to deliver the vote of thanks for this event on behalf of department's whole fraternity. I sincerely thank our panel members, Mr. Pushkar Deshpande, Mr. Anand Divedi, Mr. Lalit Chako, Mr. Rishikesh KB, and our panel moderator, Mr. Yuganta Rathore, for accepting our invitation and for being with us today. It's indeed a great honor for our department to have welcomed such prominent speakers. I'm sure we all will be greatly benefited by your experiences and views. I would also like to extend my gratitude to our coordinator, Dr. Raghunandanji, event coordinator, Dr. Sushin, and all other faculty members of Commerce Department for giving us an opportunity to conduct the event. I would also like to thank the technical staff for their support. Last but not the least, I would like to thank all the Christites for their time and cooperation. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Have a great day ahead. Thank you.
Thank you.